I'm going to bring you the facts of 23.1 in comparison to 2014. Just a little break off here. Justin Ellis with CrossFit Willis, and maybe this will help you on putting a goal on what your workout should look like this week. Now, I'm going to dive into this from a perspective of what does top 10% look like. I think that's pretty much everybody's goal, from the professionals to your everyday goers that like to be pretty competitive with CrossFit. Just got to get to the top 10%, got to get to the next level, and then we can start to shake things up, right? So even if you're trying to make a bid for the games, I mean, you heard them ask this question to almost everyone there, especially the pros. Is this a one and done? Or are you going to repeat this? And most of them I feel pretty good about this. It's a one and done. Obviously, with the mistake that CrossFit made with the weights, Laura Horvath is not going to be able to do that, or any of the women that were there. They'll have to repeat it. But I think the sentiment of repeating the workout at the top end, your effort's going to get you top 10% on what you saw today out of the pros. And they're just trying to make it to the next level. Some of us are those fringe athletes. So what does it take for us? I'll throw myself in there, and sitting on that 12-13% bubble and like to get inside that top 10%. So I broke down a couple. In 2014, it looked way different than it does today. So we had a lot of the competition was in the United States at the time. That year there was 209,000 participants, just a little over that. And so the growth had made a huge stride, but the U.S. itself had the Mid-Atlantic, North Central, Northeast, Northern Cal, South Central, Southeast, Southern Cal, and Southwest regions just in the United States. And then it broke down into Latin America, Europe, all of Europe, Central East, Canada West, Canada East, and Australia, Asia, and Africa. And so the scope looks way different now. But I took in the men's division, I wanted to break down and see what the numbers look like at 10% for those regions, just to get a rough roundabout. I went through the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, and Southern Cal for the men's side. And so I took the participants that registered for that area, because I believe that's how they do it. Now, these could be off a little bit, but I think based on what I was gathering on these numbers, it seemed to be pretty consistent what that top 10% would be. Mid-Atlantic had 8,100 participants roughly. Northeast had a little over 11,000, and then Southern Cal had 6,300. So roughly, I went and found for the Mid-Atlantic who fell in 810th place for the men, and that would have been your top 10% at the time. And in this case, it was 187 reps, which would be 7 muscle-ups at the time. My first thought in theory on this was about a handful of muscle-ups would get you top 10%. 187 is pretty close to that. They had a a tie break of 11 minutes and 57 seconds. Northeast, with the bigger group, a lot larger attendance with registration, over 11,000. So it was about 1,104th is what I ended up with here. And that was 186 muscle-ups. So one less here, a lot bigger span of people. And actually the tie break for that was 10 minutes and 46 seconds getting to that, to the muscle-ups. I went over to SoCal, pretty competitive region, the California regions for sure, 6,348. So I looked and found 635th place was also 187 reps. So very consistent across the board through each region of that top 10%. And that 187 was a tiebreak of 11:20. Those times seem to be a little bit broken up. And I feel like in 2014 compared to today, obviously the muscle up or just gymnastics, just CrossFit, consistency and efficiency is probably a lot better. A couple things I thought that were interesting. That 810th spot in Mid-Atlantic with 187 was literally the last person to get to the 7th muscle up. That would have taken the 10% there. Another thing that I broke down was what if you could just get one muscle up in 2014? And in the Northeast, the larger group, if you scored that 181, and again, I took the last person, so the slowest tie break there at 181 reps would have ended up about 21%. So getting to that 10% would have, that 5 reps would have made a huge difference, 11% difference. SoCal, smaller group, but that 181 sat at about 23%. So roughly close, 21%, 23% in those two divisions. So the men's, another thing that I looked at here, guys, is okay, we've got to take in consideration from 2014 to 2023 now. Obviously, CrossFit has grown. It's changed. The scope of training has changed completely. But I think with this workout, we could dive into this for a long time, but the grand scheme of these movements, and I also looked at been following CrossFit, for a long time, been in CrossFit since 2012, and I think efficiency has definitely gotten better, but what I figured and calculated was about a 4% increase. And this is how, and I did the eye test, but I also did the numbers test, which taking Dukic's time or score today I just had it pulled up, but taking that against Rich Froning's, which was 9 reps better, and that gives you roughly about a 4% difference, and then applying that to the 187, and that giving us about a 194 score to be in the top 10%. Now, that's not considering how the scope of regions are broken down this year. But looking at the eye test, if I was to say those divisions and those regions were 187 consistently, across 3, it's not all of them, but 194 might be the top 10% that we're looking for. Obviously, we got to be a lot more efficient. Look, the muscle-ups obviously are going to be the big make or break, but we're still doing wall balls the same as we were in 2014, essentially. Rowing is the same. All this stuff is the same stuff. We just got more efficient. So I don't know. I feel as if that's a pretty good number. 194 is what I think men are going to be chasing to be in the top 10%. Now, that doesn't mean you come out with a 190 or 185 even, and you're just a couple percent points out and sitting in 17 or 18%. And this is a 3-week battle. This is not 1 week at a time. But I feel like the numbers are the eye test and the numbers line up pretty good at 194, meaning 14 muscle-ups. When I say it out loud, it sounds a little high, but I think we've grown quite a bit. Women, I took the Northern Cal region and the Southeast region in this case, and NoCal had over 3,000, about 3,500, so 353rd spot in the women's, and this is going to be the same on both of this, Northern California and Southeast. 180 reps got you 10%, but it did matter about your tie break time. And in the Northern Cal, it was 12 minutes and 15 seconds, and the Southeast was 12:27. So really, really close there. This is going to be completely different, I think, this year, with the fact that, we definitely have grown quite a bit, and a lot more women can do muscle-ups now, but I'm still going to take across the board that 4%. Let's put it this way. The first muscle up, if you got the first muscle up in the NoCal area, it puts you up to 210th place. And again, this is the slowest tie break first muscle up, and that would have put you in the top 6%. So in the Southeast, if you would have got that first one, it would have put you in the top 5%. So one muscle up would have been huge. You would have set up your open in a very good position if this was week 1. With that being said, with the 4% increase, it's giving you a 190 for women. That's saying you're going to get 10 muscle ups, and the eye test hasn't passed for me on that one. I don't think it's going to be required of you to get 10 muscle ups on the women's side, but I do feel like, and this is more of the eye test than the numbers game. There's going to be an increase on what we talked about there, and but I do think it is going to be requiring. Man, it's just hard to say that because there's so many women. This is 2014, right? I think it's going to be somewhere in the top 10%. You're going to have to get a muscle up. You're going to have to show that you can move forward. And I think they're considering that. I think they want to say that people are going to move in that top 10%, can do these things, right? Can do the muscle up. So I do believe 181 to 182. Really what my eye test and heart's telling me is be about 4 muscle ups. But I feel like when I put the numbers down, I think it's just too many. So the guesstimation here is going to be about 181 to 182 muscle ups. Somebody that gets a little bit of time, a minute and a half or so under fatigue and can go up there more than once and accomplish a muscle up will, I think, get the top 10%. So that's some of the numbers. Of course, that's not all the regions, nowhere any close to all the regions. But I think the consistency, even in just those few spots, those few regions, kind of tell you the story a little bit. And I don't know if it's going to be much different. Both of the numbers I came up with, the percentage seem a little high. Even the 14 muscle ups for men, I think it's more around that, about where it was. But let's say we've improved, obviously, that 9 to 10, and for women, probably 1 to 2, maybe 3 muscle ups. So anyway, guys, just something to hang your hat on, see if it helps you at all. Put a goal in there. This is not really any strategy. This is just numbers by the tape from 2014 to 2023. Good luck in the Open. I'm going to try to, obviously, if we get another repeat and see if we can't throw some numbers down.